There comes a moment in every life when you realize the world is not shaped by truth, but by agreement. Society teaches you how to shrink, how to obey, how to fear, and how to doubt the very power that was breathed into you at birth. These rules are presented as wisdom, but they are cages wrapped in velvet. They are chains disguised as etiquette. They are limitations spoken so softly you repeat them as if they were your own voice. Today, we expose these dangerous rules, and we speak the words that free the mind and restore the dominion of the spirit. Rule #1: fit in, never stand out. This is the first lie, society whispers. It tells you that blending in is safety, that invisibility is harmony. But you were not created to fade. The invisible cannot influence. The hidden cannot transform. Life expands for the courageous, not the compliant. You must dare to be seen, dare to be different, dare to stand where others shrink. The moment you express your true pattern, the world rearranges itself to honor it. Rule #2: wait for permission before you act. Society trains obedience, not power. It tells you to wait for approval, timing, validation, signs. Yet the universe responds to boldness, not permission slips. Destiny is claimed, not handed out. When you move with conviction, conditions align. When you hesitate, they dissolve. The doors you're waiting for will only appear once you walk toward them. Rule #3: be realistic. Dreams are dangerous. Dreams are dangerous only to mediocrity. Realism is the favorite shield of the limited mind. Those who warn you against dreaming simply fear witnessing your rise. A dream is a divine instruction, not an illusion. It is the soul's blueprint. Follow it, and the unseen forces of life conspire in your favor. Rule #4: suffer now, live later. This doctrine of sacrifice has broken more spirits than failure ever has. You were not put here to endure a lifetime of self-denial for a moment of reward. Joy is not a luxury, it is fuel. When you choose joy now, you magnetize opportunities, people, and ideas that resonate with that frequency. You were never meant to crawl through life in the name of virtue. Rule #5: stay small so others feel comfortable. Shrinking does not inspire. Your light does not blind, it illuminates. When you embrace your greatness, you give silent permission for others to rise. Those offended by your expansion are simply unwilling to confront their own potential. Do not diminish your power to soothe the insecure. Rule #6: security is more important than freedom. Many trade their inner authority for jobs, opinions, and routines that feel safe. But safety without freedom is a gilded prison. True security comes from knowing you can create, that you can rebuild, that you can command life instead of hiding from it. Freedom is the birthplace of every miracle. Rule #7: follow the majority, they know better. Mass thinking is the most dangerous thinking. Crowds do not move by wisdom but by momentum. The majority is often loud, rarely right. The path of truth is seldom crowded because it requires clarity, courage, and vision, qualities the mass mind avoids. Walk alone when you must. The right allies appear on the higher road. Rule #8: suppress your intuition, logic is superior. Intuition is the voice of the infinite speaking through you. Logic is the voice of the learned past. When you silence intuition, you sever your link to guidance, timing, and protection. The most profound decisions in life are sensed long before they are reasoned. Trusting that inner whisper is the first act of personal sovereignty. Rule #9: accept life as it is, don't challenge the script. Every script was written by someone who decided not to challenge theirs. If you accept the world as it is, you inherit its limitations. If you challenge it, you rewrite the pattern. Life bends for the one who refuses to bow. Every invention, revolution, or breakthrough came from someone who looked at the script and said, "Not for me." Rule #0: never believe you are powerful. Perhaps the darkest rule of all. A society that convinces its individuals that they are powerless becomes easy to control. But the truth is simple. Thought is creative, words are commands, expectation is law. You shape your path by the images you hold, the affirmations you speak, and the courage with which you act. Power is not given, it is awakened. Break these rules, and you do not merely escape society's grip, you return to the authority that was always yours. To break the rule of conformity and reclaim the courage to stand in your true pattern, you must first recognize how subtly and consistently the world teaches you to disappear. From childhood, you are rewarded for sameness, for pleasing, for obeying, for adjusting your natural instincts to fit the expectations of others. You are taught to mirror, to mold yourself into whatever shape keeps the peace, earns approval, or avoids criticism. This conditioning becomes so familiar that most people stop questioning it. They begin to believe that the version of themselves, shaped by these external pressures, is their real identity. But beneath the layers of social polish lies the original blueprint, your true pattern, the one that was imprinted with purpose, gifts, and direction long before the world told you who you should be. Reclaiming that pattern is an act of courage because it requires stepping out of the invisible lines drawn around you and choosing authenticity over applause. Conformity offers comfort, but it demands the sacrifice of power. When you try to fit in, you shrink your brilliance to match the expectations of those who fear anything that challenges the ordinary. You silence your voice to maintain harmony, even when that silence costs you your dreams. You trade the exhilarating chaos of becoming for the dull predictability of acceptance. And slowly, without realizing it, you shape your entire life around avoiding discomfort instead of pursuing possibility. This is the tragedy of conformity. It convinces you that safety is worth more than purpose, that comfort is worth more than truth, and that belonging is worth more than becoming. But the spirit within you does not thrive in smallness. It rebels against confinement. It nudges, it whispers, it pushes you toward the edges of your potential, reminding you again and again that you were never designed to blend into the background of your own life. To reclaim your courage, you must first learn to recognize when you are betraying yourself. Every time you say yes, when your soul is screaming no, you conform. Every time you dim your excitement because someone else lacks vision, you conform. Every time you hide your ideas, passions, or desires in fear of being judged, you conform. And each act of conformity chips away at your inner authority. The world does not lose its power to shape you in one dramatic moment. It erodes you quietly, through 1,000 small compromises that feel harmless, until suddenly you realize you no longer recognize the person you've become. The courage to stand in your true pattern begins with awareness. It begins with the simple acknowledgement that you have been living inside a costume, performing a version of yourself that keeps everyone comfortable except you. Once this awareness awakens, a new internal battle begins. The moment you decide to step into authenticity, fear rises like a storm. Fear of rejection, fear of judgment, fear of losing relationships, fear of being misunderstood, fear of failing publicly. These fears are not signs that you're on the wrong path. They are proof that you're leaving the territory of conformity and entering the realm of truth. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the willingness to move despite it. When you choose authenticity, you disrupt the expectations people have placed on you. Some will resist this change because your growth exposes their stagnation. Some will question you, criticize you, or try to pull you back into your old patterns. But remember, people are not resisting your evolution. They are resisting the loss of the version of you that made their world easy. This resistance is not a command to stop. It is confirmation that you are shedding the skin of conformity and stepping into your true form. Standing in your true pattern requires a deeper kind of confidence, not the loud, performative confidence society praises, but the quiet, unshakable certainty that your inner knowing is wiser than external opinion. You must develop the inner strength to trust your own instincts even when no one else understands them. Your intuition is a compass pointing toward your destiny, but you cannot follow it while trying to meet the expectations of everyone around you. Courage means trusting the pull of your own spirit more than the noise of the crowd. It means honoring your desires without apologizing for them. It means choosing alignment over approval. And in doing so, you reclaim the creative authority that conformity stripped from you. As you step into your true pattern, you will begin to notice a subtle shift in the way life responds to you. Opportunities that once seemed distant begin to appear. People who resonate with your authenticity start to enter your orbit. Doors that remained closed while you were pretending suddenly open when you express your real self. This is not coincidence. It is alignment. Life aligns with authenticity, not imitation. When you embody your true pattern, you send a clear signal to the world about who you are and what you are destined for. That signal attracts the experiences, relationships, and resources that match your true nature. Conformity sends mixed signals, so life remains stagnant. Authenticity sends a precise frequency, so life moves. But stepping into your true pattern is not a one-time decision. It is a daily practice. Every morning, you must choose truth over acceptance. Every conversation, you must choose honesty over politeness when politeness betrays your values. Every opportunity, you must choose alignment over convenience. And most importantly, every time fear whispers that shrinking is safer, you must answer with the courage to expand. This consistency strengthens your inner foundation. Over time, what once felt terrifying becomes natural. What once felt rebellious becomes ordinary. Your true pattern stops being something you reach for and becomes the state you occupy. Courage grows through expression. The more you express your real thoughts, your real desires, your real talents, the stronger you become. Instead of seeking validation from the world, you begin validating yourself. Instead of molding yourself to fit in, you begin shaping the world around the force of your individuality. And in doing so, you break the rule of conformity not through defiance, but through embodiment. You stop trying to convince the world that you have the right to be yourself. You simply live as yourself, and the world adjusts accordingly. And perhaps the greatest revelation comes when you realize that standing in your true pattern does not push the world away, it draws the right world towards you. Authenticity is magnetic. People may resist it at first, but ultimately, they respect it. Your courage liberates others to find their own. You become a mirror, not a follower. You become an example, not an echo. You become someone who lives from the inside out rather than the outside in. Rejecting society's illusion of limitation and acting from inner authority requires first understanding the subtle ways in which the world convinces you to doubt yourself. From the earliest moments of life, you are bombarded with messages designed to keep you small. You can't. You shouldn't. It's impossible. Stay in your lane. These phrases are repeated so often that they become internalized truths. They create an invisible fence around your potential, a boundary you rarely question because it feels natural. Society teaches you that the world has fixed rules, fixed outcomes, fixed roles, and that your ability to bend these rules is limited. These messages are not coincidences, they are tools of control. They keep the majority of people predictable, manageable, and comfortable in their smallness. But you were not designed for limitation. Your mind, your will, and your spirit were given the capacity to shape, bend, and even recreate the reality around you if only you would claim that power. Acting from inner authority begins with reclaiming the belief in your own capacity. Most people outsource decision-making to outside sources, experts, leaders, traditions, or public opinion. They wait for permission, for proof, for validation, not realizing that the ultimate authority always resides within. External guidance has its place, but it must never replace the voice of your own knowing. When you defer to external authority at the expense of your inner wisdom, you surrender your power, and your life becomes a reflection of others' expectations rather than your own vision. The illusion of limitation is strongest when you begin to believe that you need permission to act, that your intuition is not enough, that circumstances are obstacles rather than stepping stones. Rejecting this illusion means learning to trust your own judgment above the chorus of societal rules, opinions, and fears. The challenge of embracing inner authority lies in the tension between independence and fear. Society trains you to fear consequences, judgment, failure, ridicule, loss. These fears are powerful because they are reinforced at every turn by families, schools, workplaces, and media. They create a mental framework in which conformity feels safe and risk feels dangerous. But courage does not grow in the absence of fear. Courage grows by choosing action despite fear, by listening to the inner voice that says, "I can," even when the outer world shouts, "You can't." To reject the illusion of limitation is to acknowledge that fear exists, but to refuse to allow fear to dictate your decisions. It is to recognize that boundaries are often artificial and that limitations are often self-imposed through belief systems that no longer serve you. When you begin to act from your inner authority, you discover a surprising freedom. The world that once seemed rigid starts to shift. Opportunities appear that had been invisible when you were looking to others for guidance. People respond differently to you because you project confidence not borrowed from anyone else, but earned through self-trust. Your decisions, once tentative and cautious, become clear and purposeful. You move with intention rather than reaction. Each time you act in alignment with your inner authority, you reinforce your capacity for self-determination. You are no longer a passenger in your life. You become the driver, and the direction you choose becomes a statement of personal power rather than obedience to expectation. The process of rejecting limitation also involves identifying the lies you have accepted as truth. Society often teaches scarcity. There is not enough success, wealth, or recognition for everyone. It teaches hierarchy. Some are naturally more deserving than others. It teaches inevitability. Some things are fixed, unchangeable, or predetermined. These ideas are traps that keep you obedient and deferential. They are not universal laws. They are the assumptions of those who benefit from others' compliance. Inner authority requires the courage to challenge these assumptions, to question the definitions of possibility you have been handed, and to create a new framework in which your actions are guided by potential rather than restriction. Every act of questioning the accepted rules strengthens your sovereignty and expands the horizon of what you can achieve. Another key aspect of inner authority is learning to act independently without isolation. Acting from your own wisdom does not mean disregarding others entirely. It means evaluating advice, feedback, and influence through the lens of your own truth. You can learn from experience, but you must filter it through the compass of your own knowing. In doing so, you maintain connection without surrendering power. You participate in society without becoming its victim. You interact with others without allowing their expectations to dictate the rhythm of your life. This delicate balance is the mark of true personal sovereignty. It allows you to move freely, act decisively, and create without the constant need for approval. The power of rejecting limitation is magnified when combined with clarity of purpose. Inner authority is strengthened by the certainty of your direction, by the clarity of your intentions, and by the alignment of your actions with your values. When you know what you are willing to stand for, and when you refuse to compromise that stance for convenience or conformity, you operate from a place of invincibility. The outer world may attempt to impose obstacles, but you respond not with reactive fear, but with proactive initiative. The laws of possibility bend toward those who act decisively from the place of their own authority, because the universe responds to clarity and commitment more than to caution or hesitancy. In practical terms, rejecting society's illusion of limitation means taking responsibility for your own life in every moment. It means refusing to blame circumstances, other people, or inherited conditions for your current situation. It means recognizing that power resides not in what has happened to you, but in how you choose to respond. Every decision, every action, every thought becomes an act of reclaiming sovereignty. This level of responsibility is daunting because it removes excuses and requires engagement with the raw, unmediated experience of life. But it is also liberating because it restores control where it had been surrendered. The more consistently you act from this place, the more natural it becomes, and the less influence the fear-based rules of society can exert over you. Rejecting the illusion of limitation also requires embracing a mindset of abundance and possibility. Inner authority thrives when you recognize that the world is not a zero-sum game, that creativity is infinite, that opportunity is not scarce, and that your potential cannot be measured by comparison to others. Scarcity thinking is the most powerful tool of societal control because it makes you anxious, competitive, and reactive. Abundance thinking empowers you to take bold actions without fear of running out, to innovate without restraint, and to pursue your vision with audacity. Acting from inner authority requires a shift in perception from limitation to potential, from restriction to expansion, from passive acceptance to active creation. Finally, cultivating inner authority is a continuous practice, not a one-time realization. Each day presents choices that test your commitment to your own guidance. Each interaction challenges you to trust your instincts over the prescribed norms. Each decision requires you to assert the sovereignty of your inner voice against the currents of expectation. Over time, this practice strengthens the muscles of personal power, making it easier to recognize limitation when it appears, to resist it without hesitation, and to act in alignment with your highest truth. With consistent practice, the illusion of limitation loses its grip, fear loses its power, and you operate from a place of authority that is unshakable, self-sustaining, and aligned with the infinite possibilities of your life. Trusting intuition over mass thinking and rewriting the script of your life with personal power requires a radical shift in perception, one that most people are never taught to undertake. From the earliest years of our lives, we are trained to look outward for answers, to value consensus over insight, and to allow the loudest voices to define reality. Schools, families, workplaces, and social institutions all reinforce the idea that correctness is determined by majority opinion. Following the crowd becomes a habit disguised as prudence, a form of safety that feels responsible and reasonable. Yet this is precisely the trap that diminishes the individual spirit, for mass thinking is rarely aligned with truth, creativity, or destiny. It is aligned with comfort, predictability, and the avoidance of risk. To reclaim personal power, you must learn to listen to the quiet, persistent voice within, the one that whispers guidance when all external sources seem certain, and to act on that voice even when it contradicts the collective judgment. The first step in trusting your intuition is understanding what it is and how it differs from impulse, fear, or wishful thinking. Intuition is not a random thought or a fleeting desire. It is the accumulation of your experiences, perceptions, and innate understanding, condensed into a signal from the deepest part of your consciousness. It is often subtle, quiet, and persistent, requiring patience and attention to discern. Unlike mass thinking, which is reactive, superficial, and heavily influenced by the opinions of others, intuition operates from a place of insight and alignment. It perceives patterns that are invisible to the ordinary mind, senses timing that logic cannot calculate, and recognizes opportunities that remain hidden from the masses. To act on intuition is to acknowledge that your own perception and inner knowing are more reliable guides than the fluctuating opinions of the crowd. Mass thinking exerts its power through conformity, repetition, and the pressure to belong. It manifests in cultural norms, social trends, and collective beliefs that dictate what is acceptable, possible, or reasonable. Following mass thinking may provide temporary comfort and social acceptance, but it comes at the cost of personal authority and creative power. When you make decisions based on what others think is right, you surrender the unique insight and perspective that only you possess. Life then becomes a reflection of the collective mind, predictable and constrained, rather than a field in which your individual vision can manifest. The energy you expend attempting to align with the majority is energy that could otherwise be directed toward creation, innovation, and personal transformation. Rewriting the script of your life begins with conscious awareness of these influences. You must recognize the ways in which your choices, thoughts, and behaviors have been shaped by mass thinking rather than personal insight. Every time you have followed advice unquestioningly, conformed to social norms against your instincts, or suppressed a creative impulse to fit in, you have allowed the collective script to write your story. Becoming aware of this pattern is the first act of liberation, for awareness creates the possibility of choice. Once you see the ways in which your life has been influenced by external pressures, you can consciously begin to override them with decisions informed by intuition and inner authority. Acting on intuition often requires courage because it frequently goes against conventional wisdom, societal expectations, or the advice of well-meaning individuals. Intuition does not appeal to popularity, it appeals to alignment. It may push you toward choices that feel uncertain, uncomfortable, or even risky in the eyes of others. Yet it is precisely in these moments of tension that the power of intuition reveals itself. The discomfort is a signal that you are stepping away from mass thinking and toward your own creative authority. Fear, doubt, and resistance often accompany intuitive guidance, but these are not signs that you are wrong. They are signs that you are moving beyond the familiar patterns of conformity and into the realm of possibility. To ignore intuition in favor of mass thinking is to prioritize comfort over destiny, opinion over truth, and imitation over originality. One of the most profound aspects of intuition is its ability to reveal paths that logic and conventional reasoning cannot see. It connects you to possibilities that exist outside the visible spectrum of experience, guiding you towards solutions, opportunities, and relationships that would otherwise remain hidden. Intuition operates with an immediacy and precision that mass thinking cannot replicate, offering insight that is holistic rather than fragmented, creative rather than reactive. The challenge lies in cultivating the clarity and trust necessary to distinguish these insights from distractions, biases, or societal conditioning. Regular reflection, meditation, and attentiveness to your internal responses strengthen this capacity, allowing your intuition to become a reliable guide in every sphere of life. Rewriting the script of your life also involves challenging the assumptions, beliefs, and narratives that mass thinking has ingrained in you. These are the invisible lines that tell you who you can be, what you can achieve, and what is acceptable for someone like you. They are reinforced by culture, tradition, education, and even well-intentioned mentors. To break free from these narratives, you must confront them with discernment and courage. Each assumption that is questioned, each limitation that is discarded, and each belief that is replaced with personal insight expands the field of possibility. You begin to see that the script you inherited was not fixed, but fluid, and that the pen is in your hand. By choosing to write from intuition rather than imitation, you reclaim authorship over your life story. Personal power is amplified through consistency in acting from intuition. It is not enough to have occasional flashes of insight. You must develop the habit of tuning into your inner voice, evaluating circumstances through its lens, and making decisions that reflect alignment rather than conformity. Every choice that reflects this authority reinforces your capacity to trust yourself, deepens your confidence, and diminishes the influence of the collective mind. Over time, this practice transforms the way you interact with life. You respond with clarity rather than reaction, create with precision rather than imitation, and navigate challenges with a sense of certainty that cannot be shaken by popular opinion or external pressure. The impact of following intuition extends beyond personal achievement. It reshapes relationships, work, and influence. When you operate from alignment rather than mass thinking, you attract situations and people who resonate with your authentic energy. Conversely, those who attempt to impose conformity or enforce collective expectations tend to fade away. This natural selection of influence is not a matter of judgment. It is a reflection of the energy you emit when you act with clarity, courage, and insight. Acting from intuition creates a feedback loop. The more you trust yourself, the more aligned your environment becomes, and the more you are empowered to continue shaping your life according to your own design. Finally, trusting intuition and rewriting your script is a lifelong practice that requires vigilance, patience, and courage. The pressures of mass thinking are constant, and societal influences are pervasive. Each day presents new opportunities to defer to the opinions of others, to follow the crowd, or to accept a familiar but limited path. Each day also presents opportunities to listen inward, to act with discernment, and to honor the guidance of your inner knowing. This discipline, repeated over time, strengthens your personal authority and allows you to navigate life from a position of power and creativity rather than fear and conformity. Intuition becomes the lens through which you see possibilities, the compass guiding you through uncertainty, and the foundation upon which you construct a life that is uniquely yours.